Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to interviewing Tom Daniels again. We spoke, I think it was like maybe a week or two ago. I can't even remember.
2 weeks, yeah. About 2 weeks.
Yeah. So it was fun having you on the show, talking about ACTs and SATs and your tutoring business.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had shared with me that you and Tom Cookie Marsh wrote this book, Black and White, Like You and Me. And so I always love interviewing authors and talking about just books and the stories and within the book. And so, Cookie, great to meet you. Looking forward to talking with you both. Tom, give us kind of Tom, we'll start with you, Tom Daniels. Tell us a little bit about what this book is and how it got to be written.
Well, the book, the purpose of the book is to show that two people who have lived parallel lives almost all their lives up until about age 45. Thomas Cookie Marsh growing up on the west side of Detroit. I growing up on the east side of Detroit. And we even went to the University of Detroit together around the same time. But never, ever, ever did our lives intersect until much later in life. As I mentioned, age 45, we started playing basketball called geezer ball. I don't know why they would call it that for young men such as us. But then we ended up preparing for a tournament in Toronto, Ontario, where blacks and white guys went and played, and we actually won the championship. But the point was this, that we got to know each other through this common love of basketball, and we started to find out so much about each other. And even though I was white and he was black, we had so many things in common, and we got to know each other quite well. And even I traveled to Laurel, Mississippi, where his relatives are from, and found out his roots, so to speak. And we said to ourselves, we have to write this, especially in this day and age where people are, so divisive. We have to find something common to write about, nothing political, nothing divisive, just two people, normal people. My wife might say maybe not too normal, but that got together and realized that that's how things can get much better and become much more perfect in this world.
Yeah, I love that. And Cookie, tell me, you from your perspective.
I was intrigued. I had a pretty rich and basketball career here in the city of Detroit as a high school basketball player, and then at the University of Detroit. And so when we kind of first talked about this, it was kind of centered around me doing an autobiography of my life. And I told Tom, I didn't want to do that. I want to do something that I felt would help relations between black and whites, because I just growing up, on 12th Street where the riots began, I never had interactions with whites. My world was predominantly black world. It wasn't until I probably got college before I actually started, interacting with white, because even in Detroit Public School League basketball sports program, if you can imagine, Detroit Public Schools, that was all black then. So I just told Tom I wanted something that may help bring us closer together as people, as human beings. And that's when this whole thing about this, well, let's go your life and I'll chronicle our minds, and then we'll see how these parallel lives finally came together.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what the theory is behind it.
Yeah, I love what you guys are talking about. I would love to dive a little bit deeper into, things seem so divided right now, on so many different levels, and the energy and the essence of your book is about how to bring people closer together. From each of your perspectives, how do we do that right now? And this book was written when? You wrote this book when?
It came out February 2nd, 2017.
Right. So 2017, and here we are. You know, what's the date today? It's August 19th, 2020.
19.
Right. We're in the, we are, things that are very relevant in the news, not only COVID, Black Lives Matter, there seems to be racism, anti-Semitism, anger for, with which side of politics you sit on. There's just so many things. And we have an election year right now. There's so many different opinions on what people should or shouldn't do for schools and things of that nature. So how do we, as two scholars, people who have been not only had successful careers, but in the around in schools and inspiring people, how do we do this? How do we bring people closer together?
Tom, you want to start?
It's a tough question, John. Yeah, it's a tough question, John. I always believe that you've got one mouth and two ears. And so God gave us that so that we could listen to one another instead of having something to say all the time. And if we just don't listen to each other, if somebody's different, it seems like they're wrong. That's how things have developed. If you are different from me, you're wrong. If you have a different idea than I do, you're wrong. Now that has to be completely erased. But as you said, John, in today's day and age, that doesn't seem to be it.
Right.
But I do believe that one person at a time, like Cookie and me, like anybody, if you start to enjoy another person of another race, another religion, another nationality, if you can try to get to know them and realize that they are not that much different than you are, that you can become great friends. And it's just like Mother Teresa said in Calcutta. Somebody came up to her one time and said, "Hey, Mother Teresa, there are thousands upon thousands of sick people here in India. What are you going to do about it?" And she looked at him and said, "What am I going to do about it? I'm going to love them and help them one person at a time."
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that's how we have to do it as well. We all have a responsibility to do that.
Yeah. I think just not to, I don't know how I can piggyback off of Mother Teresa to Stephen Covey, but I will. But Stephen Covey, one of my favorite things that he talks about is seek first to understand before being understood. And I think that is kind of like a universal thing that, we all need to. Cookie, how about you? What are some of your thoughts?
Well, I'm just a firm believer that, behavior is learned. That somebody somewhere, we're not born with this hate or meanness or discrimination in us. We're not born with that. So I think we have to continue to work with young people, even very young kids, because behavior is a learned behavior. So if they're learning not to hate, not to discriminate, and to be able to be willing to talk to someone else out of their race, then I think that we got a chance. But Tom is right, John, you're right. I mean, there's so much divisiveness in this world. I almost think about that old saying, got my man, I think it was Green, said, "Can we all just get along?" Yeah. But that's probably not going to be the case. We're not going to all just get along. But at least we can all listen to one another.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're talking about, listening to one another. And one of the things I loved about your book is the quote that you talked about. I learned to play basketball by the rhythm of Motown. I watched this weekend, coincidentally, I watched Hitsville, The Making of Motown, which I don't know if either one of you have seen it, but It's really incredible, and it follows Berry Gordy and Smokey Robinson talking about just how they grew Motown. And one of the things I loved about what Berry Gordy kept on saying was, music is not black or white; it's green, right? Like, and so yeah, and he did, and he did some amazing things. And so, what is that? I just want to kind of talk about what that means to basketball. Learn to play basketball by the rhythm of Motown. Like, what does that mean? The rhythm of Motown.
Well, that's kind of like a theme that we had growing up in basketball. Any sport or any athlete you look at, there's this certain rhythm that you see to them, especially like a LeBron James, or you look at other very, very high-profile athletes. They all got a certain rhythm to them. So my thing was, I grew up playing basketball at the Bull Club, and we had the speaker on. They was pumping music in all the time. So while we were in the gym, we were listening to these Motown sounds. And as I started playing basketball and practicing, I just kind of got in the rhythm of the beat with playing basketball, and it all fell in place. And I remember one of the coaches he said, "That's the rhythm." Yeah, all great players have a certain rhythm, and that's why I kind of talked about it and talked about growing up and learning how to play basketball to the Motown sound, to the rhythm of Motown, because that's true. That's how I got my root.
I love it.
College scholarship too.
Talk to me about. Sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
I said it must have been a good rhythm.
Yeah, that must have been a good rhythm. Absolutely. Talk to me about the
Pretty
book.
good.
Talk to everybody about the book a little bit, and what someone should expect when what are they gonna experience as they read through the pages?
Well, when we wrote it, we didn't know exactly who would be the ones that would read it. But over a period of time here, 3 years or so, we found that it has something for just about everyone. I know of an 80-year-old Jewish woman who enjoyed it, and I also know of teenagers who have read it and enjoy it also. So it's a wide gamut, and here's why. Because it actually covers 4 things. One, I enjoy sports. Cookie enjoys sports. A lot of people enjoy sports. There are sports memories in the book, and people can relate to that. It also is sociology, which we talked about at the opening of the show. Sociology is very important. People look upon that. It's historical in the sense that we both react to what we were doing and how it felt when the Detroit riot hit, when Martin Luther King Jr. was killed, throughout the Vietnam War. So can bring back different memories concerning that as well. So sociology, history, we said sports, and of course, a big part of it is memories. A lot of people like to think back to the so-called good old days. Well, maybe they weren't that good, but we somehow think that they were. But there are pictures in there where we grew up, and I'm of Detroit. I lived right next door to Eagle Dairy on Van Dyke and Forest, which a lot of people went to because it had tremendous ice cream. I was very lucky to live right next door to it. The only problem was I didn't have any money to go and get it very often. But so those 4 things seem to attract readers and interest them.
Nice. Cookie, any thoughts?
Well, I think when individuals read the book, I think that there's something in there that you're going to be able to identify with, and regardless of what we might be doing in life right now. I think that the book kind of coincides with a statement I remember being made by Gladys Knight, and she said in one of her records she said, as strange as it seems, these will become the good days. So
Yeah.
we're living in good old days right now. And that's the
Good.
kind of way I look at life.
So in your friendship and in the process of writing the book, what did you learn about yourselves?
Well,
I learned that. This is real short for me, but I learned to allow people to do what they do best. Now, if you're thinking about writing a book, what better companion or teammate can I have than Tom Daniels, who's an English teacher?
Right.
So it was very easy for me because of Tom. So I just basically had to talk into that microphone, and he did the rest. So I just that's the best way to handle it. You know, let people do what they do best.
Well, that's very kind of you, but I always say this: no cook, no book.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to read just about me. We have to have him in there as well. But it was a pleasure writing it. It was a tremendous. In fact, I was going to tell you, John, right before it was published, Cookie and I were walking around like two expectant fathers in the waiting room to see what this baby is going to look like. You know, is it going to be ugly? What's anybody going to like it? And so it came out, and it turned out real well.
Yeah, I love that. My last question for you guys before we move a little bit into a speed round is, you know, the process of writing a book. A lot of times people have a book in them. I talk to a lot of people who say, oh, I want to write a book. I want to write a book. I want to write a book. But they never really get to ever writing a book. So talk a little bit about the process of how you got started and just how you ultimately got to the completion of the book.
Tommy, why don't you go ahead and kind of.
Well, I remember specifically when I had this idea in my head for quite a while, and we had gotten done playing geezer basketball, and I went up to Cookie and I said, you know, I got this idea for a book, and what do you think? I was very nervous about asking him about it. I didn't know what his reaction would be. And then he said, yes, of course. And then it really was about a 3-year process of getting ideas down and writing them down and thinking about them. And you're exactly right, John. You heard so many people say, I'm going to write a book. But you know what? You can't write a book unless you get started. And, you know, you have to get those first words down on paper. You have to have a structure. Our structure happened to be alternating black, white. What did Cookie do when he was a boy? What did I do when I was a boy? What did I do in college? What did he do in college? What did I do as I grew up? What did he do as he grew up? How did he think about the Vietnam War? How did I think about it? And so on.
Yeah. All right, good.
And you know, John, we had some tremendous help with a lady by the name of Pam Trimble, who did our design for our book. And I thought that she also really, really helped us in terms of structuring that book and put it together.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Tom and I talking about our lives and our experience, but I have to give Pam a lot of credit for kind of our coach, Trimble. I give her a thumbs up.
Right.
Sure.
And we had help from my brother and Derek Palm in consultation and things that they put in the book as well.
Yeah.
So that was very important for us too.
Yeah, it definitely takes a team, no question. Absolutely. All right, my last couple questions for you fellas. What's one thing somebody who's listening right now can do to kind of, you know, do something kind in the world to bring people closer together?
Listen to somebody.
Tommy said, listen to somebody.
Yeah.
I say, I think that we got to invest. We got to invest in our young people.
Yeah.
Black, white, green. We have to invest in our young people, our kids, our children. And if you can do as an adult, if you can do anything in that manner and support agencies, programs that promote, positive directions and to help children and kids, do it.
Well, the Boys and Girls Club was very instrumental to Cookie. And a matter of fact, we give a portion of our proceeds to the Boys and Girls Club because of that too.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a good note to leave on, which is listen. Right. Sounds simple, but it's so simple it's complicated. So listen is the key, fellas. I appreciate you being on the show. Tell everybody how they can get your book.
Yes, you can go on Amazon and order it. We have it in not only in print, we have it on Audible, which was really cool because we all spoke our own parts on Audible.
Oh, that's
cool.
Very
rarely do you have that for an author. And then finally, we have it on Kindle as well.
Yeah. All right. Good. And good. And it's on. And you can go to Black and White, like you and me. And fellas, Randy Denha couldn't be here today. He had something that he had to attend to, but he sends his best. And I know you know him, from Brother Rice, Tom.
Sure. Tell him he still owes me a writing assignment.
I'll tell him. All right, fellas, I appreciate you taking time to be on the show. I appreciate you talking about the book, Black and White, you and me. I appreciate you putting goodness into not only the book, but the world, and every little bit counts, and everybody's got to do their part. So I appreciate it. Thank you both very much, and have an awesome rest of the day.
You too, John. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks, Cookie. Thanks, Tom.
Bye.
All right. Take care.